Welcome to Love and Trauma, the real deal. I'm Danielle Sebastian, best-selling author, coach, and yes, I've been through the marriage trenches myself. This show is all about how to actually deal with trauma in relationships and make it work without losing your mind. If you're ready for honest talk, no fluff, and tools that cut through the noise, tune in, because let's face it, love can be a bit of a mess, but it's a mess worth figuring out. This is Love and Trauma, the real deal.
What happens when you follow all the rules, do all the right things, and life still breaks your heart? Hey, friend, you're in for something really special today. I'm sitting down with Elle Petrillo. She's a powerhouse in the world of personal branding. As a strategist and coach with Brand Builders Group, Elle and her team have helped over 1,000 thought leaders, including New York Times bestselling authors, global keynote speakers, and top podcasters, cut through the noise and build profitable, purpose-driven brands that actually change lives. But what I love about Elle isn't just what she does professionally, it's who she is underneath all of that. Because behind the success and strategy is a woman who's walked through deep personal pain and come out the other side with more clarity, compassion, and courage than most people ever find. Elle sits down with me today, and she opened up about losing her dad at 13, entering a string of trauma-filled relationships, and surviving an emotionally abusive marriage with someone struggling with addiction. She talks candidly about how she hid behind her pain, behind achievement, how she spiraled while keeping it all together on the outside, and what finally made her say, enough. And here's what makes Elle's story so powerful. She didn't just survive. She got curious. She stopped pushing everything down and started doing the work. Deep, somatic, spiritual, messy work to understand what was happening in her body, her patterns, and her beliefs. We get into all of it in this interview, from breath work and somatic healing to boundary setting, forgiveness, and how she found peace by finally letting go of the need to fix everyone else. And if you stay with us to the end, Elle shares the exact tools that helped her get out of survival mode, how she reclaimed her voice, and why learning to ask for what she needs changed everything. If you've ever felt stuck in the same cycles or look like you're holding it together on the outside while falling apart inside, this conversation is really going to hit home. Let's get started. Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
All the juicy details. I have to say, because I noticed this, which I think is so cute. Now that we're talking about love and trauma, a little heart on my coffee cup. I didn't even know that. That's so cute.
There you go.
If I had to say like a root of a lot of relationship trauma, I guess I would say, is my dad passed away when I was 13. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I think this was a pivotal age to lose a father figure. Of when right before you go into high school, or you're in high school. I was a freshman in high school, actually. And then you start actually having your first real dating relationships throughout high school. And so I think during that time, I was having experiences where I didn't really necessarily have a role model for, because probably when I was younger, yes, I saw a lot of love, but I wasn't paying attention to how relationship dynamics really were. Like I kind of was, but I kind of wasn't. But then when I first had experiences with guys and with dating and the, stupid high school stuff, I didn't really have that strong father figure, I guess, in my life. And I realized I was funny. I was with some high school friends recently, and we were talking about my ninth grade boyfriend. And I was like, he did a number on me in terms of what ended up being the way that I thought relationship dynamics should be. And so that all of a sudden, I think, really played out in a lot of ways. And not like, it was more of like manipulation, more, and this person is bipolar, which I learned later on, which made a lot of sense to me. But then what happened is, over time, I attracted a lot of men in my life who were bipolar. and I didn't know. And I attracted men who had addictive personalities, and I didn't know. And I think over time, after I ended up going through a divorce from a man who had an extreme addiction and alcoholism. And after that, I was having some other relationships that it was like repeating patterns. And I'm going, what is it that I'm doing that is attracting the same person over and over and over again, but in a different setting, right? The people who would either have mental health issues or addictive issues or, communication issues, whatever it might be. And it was just like the same thing that kept showing up in my life that I'm going, this is a me issue more than anything else. And I need to figure that out. But I think so much of that stems from losing. And not that my mom's not a strong, independent woman. It's just that she dated, but it was the same guy over like for years. And I didn't really see healthy, like, I wouldn't say not healthy relationships, but I didn't really have, I would say, the model for relationships that I think so many people have today because it's talked about a lot more. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So tell me just a little bit. So your father passed away when you were 13. And then what did that look like for you after?
That looks like me becoming hyper independent. So,
Okay.
I have always been a type A, high achiever, perfectionist personality. I would say that I poured myself into doing anything I could to be perfect, to be whatever. I couldn't do anything wrong. But it also sent me down this spiral of that being body dysmorphia, right? And that would impact how that is. And I think just really not knowing who I was because I was trying to live into expectations that other people had of me for me. And that kind of became a pattern throughout my entire life into my professional career where I was always being compared to someone else and I had to live up to what they were doing, even though they were like a mega performer. And I didn't quite know what was important to me because I was living my life based on what was important to the people around me.
Do you feel like there was also a sense of, because obviously you couldn't control what happened with your father's passing, that you needed to have things
Well,
that, yeah.
mhm. That's what I always said. Like my issue with my weight stuff, it was never about like, oh, being fat. It's more of like it's something I can control. It's the same thing. Like I used to smoke cigarettes, and it was because I like no one can control that for me, right? Or if I drank, it was like no one can control if I. And I never spiraled like crazy like that, but it was more of what is in my control that I can do, and most of that fell on like my body. So it was one of those things. I think too, that the most trauma that happened in my life was probably through my divorce and then post divorce because I had met my ex-husband on a dating app at 22. And because I was trying to do things the right way, the person who had married us, who's a dear friend, and I love him so much, and it's nothing that I think he did wrong. It's just I would probably do it differently now because I have different values. But before he would marry us, he had us agree to 8 things. Some of them were you can't live together, can't have sex, it's keep your money separate. It was like all these Christian based values. And I am Christian and I was raised in the Catholic Church. Like I do love God. And, but I'm also no longer like, I don't live and choose to live my life saying everything in the Bible is how I need to live. That's just not who I am. But because I did those things and I did follow and I thought it was right for me, and I thought it was going to set us up for a really successful marriage, and my ex-husband went along with it, what it allowed to happen were he was able to hide things really easily from me. Um, so it's like now looking back, there were signs like I should have noticed it's not normal for someone to put on, 50 to 100 pounds of extra weight. It's not normal for someone to get mad if you drink some of their liquor. Like it's not like there were things that weren't normal when I look back, but I wasn't involved. Like my mom always like shelter. I wasn't didn't live in a house with an alcoholic, so I didn't really know what to look for. And it was just never like that just wasn't a thing in my life. And so looking back, there are things that I'm going, oh, that was a sign, that was a clue. But because I was naive at the time, and I was not raised sheltered, so I don't want to say like I was this like naive little girl. I was never raised sheltered, but I didn't know the signs to look for. And because we weren't living together, I was traveling all the time for work. Our money wasn't in the same account at the time. Um, we weren't sleeping together. It's like things like that. He was able to keep a lot of things for me that after we got married, within a month and a half of getting married, my entire life blew up. And I had came home from a work trip that I was gone for a month, and he didn't get out of bed for like, he didn't go to work more than 5 days in a month. There were my house was absolutely trashed, even though we had a cleaner. He had canceled her the whole time I was gone. There were broken brand new dishes like all over our garage. There was just it was just a it was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. um and after that, it was like this person that I thought was this safe space, who was going to be the person I spent my life with and built to life with, actually became the person that like was one of the most terrorizing things in my life. And that went on. He got into treatment, and the whole time that he was in treatment, I kept flying out there and kept doing, I think what people don't realize is when you're, I do believe addiction is a disease, but I think it's so crazy talking about church stuff, because it's like people who were doing things at church thought they were helping, but actually they were kind of harming in a way. I don't want to say that like a bad thing, because I really love these people, but there was a woman I worked with at the time who was a mentor, and she said, do not get a divorce. God will see you through this. And she was like, I want you to talk to someone from my church who has experienced what you're going through. And I said, happy to do it. And I get on the call, and the woman said, the first thing she asked me is, do you have children? And I said, no. And she said, I would get out. And it was the first time I felt like permission.
It wasn't an option before. Yeah.
I never thought about it that way. But where it was
Yeah.
like, and this is why I'm so big on like people getting clear on their beliefs and values versus the pressure, because I didn't, there were very few people in my life that knew what was going on. My family didn't know. I was protecting him by not telling my family. My closest friends in the world didn't know. The only people I really knew were people at work, because they could see what a mess I was half the time.
Yeah.
But with that, it was just this. And I went back and I was like, she told me to get out. She was like, she did. And I'm like, this is not what God designed marriage to be. This is not what he designed. Like, he's putting me through this because it will serve me at some point, and it has. Like, I've learned a ton, and I've become a much more empathetic person than I used to be. And I am so many lessons from that I'm so grateful for. Now, I would have preferred never to have had them, but it is what it is. This freeing moment of like, no, what your body is telling you, because at the time I was having so many different panic, like I every time he would relapse, I would know he relapsed because I would go into a full-fledged panic attack and not know why. And then I was
So
like,
was he trying to get treatment? Tell it
he
just
went
briefly.
to
Yeah.
treatment for a few months out in California, um,
Okay.
and then got, so you have no choice but to get sober, like physically sober. But
Right.
and then he got out, and we moved to a new state, to a new city to be closer to his family, and thought like, let's have a fresh start. But one of the things people don't realize is there's a couple things. People won't get sober unless they want to get sober. Like, that's
Right.
just simple. Unless they're willing and going, I'm done with it. I'm fed up with it. Like, I want a different way of my life. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to help. So I think number one, that's true. The other thing that's also true is many treatment centers do not set you up for success after you get out of treatment, and you're off on your own unless you go to one of their ongoing outpatient programs. But the support structure that you had in treatment, so for example, like I would fly out. Luckily, he was at like a pretty high end one in Malibu, where there was only 12 beds, so there was a lot of attention. But I would fly out every week, and then Saturday we would do therapy with his therapist and spend the day together and like work on our relationship. And then Sunday I would leave and do it all over again for a few months. We had this opportunity and a person who he trusted, I trusted, who allowed us to like really get to the heart of how we were feeling in a very healthy way. When we moved, it was like you have to find your own AA groups, you have to find your own therapist. Like we would start going to therapy and we would leave fighting and we would be fine going in, right? Like things that you just don't have the strong setup to be successful when you leave. And they go, well, you're not here, so I can't still counsel you. And so then you're like, we were doing really well and things were looking up, and then it all crashes. But at the same time, it's like I just knew there that I think in my heart too, there were signs like he was able to leave property one day and got an NA beer. And I'm like, no one who's trying to get sober should be ordering an NA beer because you're trying to still fixate on the thing that you want, right? Things like that were signs, but I kept going, no, I'm going to keep trying to make this work. I'm going to keep trying to make this work because I felt like I couldn't give up on him, even though he wasn't doing anything at the time to really fight for himself.
It's interesting because I had a similar experience where it's really easy to do well in a relationship. So getting back to that relationship piece of it is that it's really easy to do well when you're separated and you're only seeing each other for a few moments, right? Yeah. Because when I was in the depths of a really struggling marriage, we did separate for a little bit, but ultimately the great counselors were saying the work has to be done when you're living together, when the day-to-day pressures are on you. That's where the work needs to be done. Because as long as we were separated, it's very easy to have date nights, right? Yeah. See each other periodically. It's the work that where you can really tell if things are going to get better is in those day-to-day pressures.
Well, it is, but it's both people really wanting it, right? Like
exactly.
Where I literally thought I was losing my effing mind. Like I had to start writing down everything that was happening when it happened because I would be in the place of going, no, there's no way that actually happened. That's not like he made me think I was making stuff up. And then I would go back and be like, no, this actually did happen. Like I was losing my mind at the same time I had moved out and rented a mattress on someone's floor while working with six-figure consulting clients, like during the day and then at night, like sleeping on a mattress on the floor. And then it was like I was going to therapy 5 days a week. I was going to a sex therapist because I couldn't have sex with my husband. I was going to a relationship therapist because of our relationship. I was going to my own therapist for my own sanity. And then twice a week I was going to Al-Anon. So it was like a full-time job of trying to go, I need to get this like figured out because I'm so fucked up at this point. And finally, I decided this isn't the life for me, right? And decided to end the marriage. And then things got worse. And so
I know things often get worse before they get better, don't they?
yeah. And I think it's just like the part of then within 6 months of separating and leaving, I moved to Nashville. I get fired from my job. I get slapped with a six-figure tax bill. And it was just like my entire life got turned upside down and stripped away from me. And so it's like the trauma of being in a relationship with someone who's in addiction for, longer than I ever even knew was going on. Then the trauma of, hey, this company I have poured my life into from the time I was like 18 to 30 just disposed of me as basically it was not really anything I did. It was someone else, and I was kind of damaged from it, like damaged goods from like something else. And then that happened. And then, I had, because I was in a relationship with someone who had addiction, he also had a gambling addiction and emptied my bank account. So it was just like, it was one thing after another. And I remember like I just kind of was fighting through it. And then I got into another relationship about a year later that got serious really quickly. And I didn't realize he was love bombing me. Like these are all things I learned in my early 30s. And after that, I remember waking up one day. I had torn my Achilles, so I was on pain medication and we had just broken up. And so I look at my nightstand. This is actually, I've never talked about this. It's embarrassing, but it's true. And I think other people can relate. Is I had my pain medication. I had, I think a bottle of Jack Daniels. I think I had Prosecco. And
Cigarettes, the
I
whole thing. I'm just kidding.
or weekend or something. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this to myself when it's like, I know but it's like, but at the time, what's crazy is like, I'm killing it at work, right? Like, I am
Yeah.
doing like on the outside, no one can see any of that. And then inside, you're going like, I'm literally poisoning myself because I can't deal with all the hurt and the pain that I'm experiencing. And so I think that was when I started like really going down into I need to be surrounded by friends who are really on a spiritual journey and like a healing journey and like get involved in a group. And luckily, it was some other guy that I met who is awesome and we're still friends today, but it was never going to work out. But he introduced me to people of his friends that are very much in that really helped start changing my life and getting through, hey, what are these core wounds and start like getting into the healing stuff. And people always say like your own journey. And then I learned about somatic therapy from one of our clients at Brand Builders Group. And I think she changed my life with understanding, a lot of things that there's so much that goes into somatic therapy and there's so many different practitioners for it, but really understanding like how to use your voice and how to feel safe in your like find safety in your body and understanding how to regulate your nervous system and like all these things we're just not taught and that have understanding like different levels of consciousness and being able to accept people where they are and just like all of these different things that I think have made me better at my job because I can relate to people a lot more. And I can speak openly and vulnerably with them when they are struggling and like support them and encourage them, right? But I think it's made me a better friend, a better daughter, a better like just like a human being overall because I have been able to face like my biggest demons by not being ashamed of like these are all things I went through and I didn't know till I knew, right? Like we just don't know what we need until we know what we don't need, I feel like. And it's like talk therapy just wasn't it. At a time it's
So
so
did you try that? Tell me. So you were banging your head against the wall, trying to navigate the complexities of a relationship impacted by childhood trauma? It doesn't have to be this daunting. When you're married to a partner with unresolved childhood trauma, it can feel like you're walking on eggshells, never quite knowing what will set them off. No matter what you try, it feels like there's always something triggering another emotional response that seems completely out of context. And the harder you try to fix it, the more discouraged you feel. So what's the issue here? Navigating marriage with a trauma survivor is different. The love languages don't work. Date nights don't work. Self-help books don't help. But here's the good news. I've created something that does work. Something built from years of hard-earned lessons and real-life experience. Ready to take the first step toward real change? Let's talk. I'm offering a free one-on-one call where we'll dive into what's going on in your relationship and figure out a way forward together. This isn't just another quick chat. It's a chance to finally be heard, to share what you're going through with someone who truly gets it. No judgment, just real support. So if you're ready to start making sense of it all and find a little more peace in your marriage, book your free call now. Your happiness, your peace, and your relationship are worth it. Let's do it together.
years. And it did serve itself in a way, like the sex therapist I had gone to, she helped me understand what was going on with my body that like I didn't know, right?
Okay.
So she gave me like, it's more of the validation of like, I know something's not right here, but it's not me. It's my body reacting to a situation that I don't know. So it's like that was helpful in the moment. But so that was that. And then my normal therapist that I met with every Monday morning at 8 a.m., which is not the way to start the week, guys. Um,
No.
but what would happen is our conversations became the same. And so I would get super frustrated. I would leave. I'm like, all you're doing is asking me, what am I doing to take care of myself? And same effing thing I did last week. I work out, I journal, I go to church, I read, like I go on walks. It's the same exact conversation we're having every week. This doesn't help anything. Like you're not giving me any more tools. And so I think after that, I just got so frustrated. I was like, I'm done with that. But I didn't know what to do. So
Was
that
that when you were married that you were
it
doing
was,
those things?
yeah. And then
Okay.
also after.
And then after
Mhm.
the divorce.
Yep. It probably wasn't until end of 2019, 2020. 2020. It was 2020, it's COVID. uh, that
Okay.
I started getting exposed to more of the spiritual, like the breath work and meditation and cool plunging and sauna and grounding and nervous system regulation and all of that. That was probably a journey from like 2020 until still on that journey, right?
Yeah. Did you feel like those were really helpful for you because the trauma is built up in your body
Yeah.
and it was trying to come out, but in unhealthy ways. Tell
I
me
would
how
say,
you think those things worked so well.
I would say the somatic therapy, because there's different things we did in this, and I could be wrong with like how to describe it. One
Yes.
exercise we did was timeline therapy. So what timeline therapy does is it clears like the 5 core emotions in your body. So like grief, anger, sadness, shame, and I forget the other one. Um, and so what you do is it starts from like you go back to every core memory that you have that really triggers one of those things in you and you clear it. And so it's kind of like it's hypnotherapy, timeline therapy is kind of what it is. So that was one thing that was really, really helpful to just clear some experiences and also understand like, well, another exercise is she had me go through every single relationship I had and look at the patterns to figure out what my core wounds were. So surprise, surprise, one of my core wounds,
What were they? Tell me.
abandonment, shocking, losing it out at a young age. Would have thought, right? So like that.
Which is why you stuck it through in some of those red flag relationships, do you think?
I think I had, it was the anxious attachment of like, I needed
Yeah.
more, I need to work harder. I needed like it's always
Yeah.
me if it's not working out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so going through and seeing the patterns and be able to go like, okay, how did this serve me? Right? Like for each one of these,
Yes.
of like, okay, how did this keep, it's
They
kind
were
of
protective at some point.
yeah, like D Martini method is kind of like everything is positive or negative, which means it's neutral in your life. So it's going through each experience and going, how do I neutralize this in me? And the way you do that is going, well, this experience it served me here, and I'm grateful for it here, and da 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 da, right? And so that was another thing. Another exercise was I had to have, there was really three, maybe two extremely challenging conversations with two people that were really close with me about how they've hurt me and really using your voice to clear up of like, this is why I'm so angry with you, this is why I'm so removed from you. And it's like two people that um it was the hardest two hard, extremely hard conversations to have. But what that did was teach me, how do you use your voice? Like, how do you actually say how you feel in a way that like they can hear you and understand it? And maybe not, you don't need validation. It's just you going like, no, you did hurt me, right? So I think that was another extremely helpful exercise. One of the other things is she would put me in a hypnosis space with breath work and help me understand what safety felt like in my body because I didn't know. And then and this was insane, but she would take me through these experiences where it's like, I would, she would put me in my parasympathetic to my sympathetic, and it would be like fight or flight response. And she would take me through all these emotions, like over an hour and a half. And we would do this weekly of like, it would go through my body, and I would have to just keep learning how do I go from here to return back to regulation in myself. And that has served me in so many ways. But
Wow. So
that,
you're identifying for the
yeah,
first time what they feel like in your body.
yeah.
Oh,
Because people would be like, well, what shape is that? What color is it? I'm like, I don't
yeah. What? Yeah.
then you start learning that, which gives you a lot of self-control, but also understand
Yeah.
like what you need. The other thing is like being able to identify your inner child and understanding inner child work, which again seems really weird, but it makes a lot of sense. And so there's like someone in my life who can get really reactive, and I just look at them and I just like picture their inner child going like, you are reacting from something that happened when you were younger that has nothing to do with me. And like, you're scared right now, which is why you're acting this way. And I'm just going to choose to be compassionate and like curious and love you. And I think another coach that I had, and this is all people that I've hired. This is not people that just like showed up in my life. They're all people that I've hired.
You seek them out. You were
Yeah.
seeking them out, trying different things
Yeah.
to, okay.
Had another coach who she's phenomenal. And she taught me like anytime something happens, the first thing before you show yourself compassion is to just get curious. And I think that has helped serve me really well in the work we do with clients, is because people bring that, and I just get really curious of like, well, why do you think that? Well, where did that come from? Well, why, tell me about what created this feeling for you. And it allows them to ask themselves questions that they've never asked of themselves to gain clarity, right? And then whatever comes up, like you just have to choose to love that part of yourself. And then it gives you a lot of clarity of like, what do I need in this moment?
So
Um,
you were asking yourself those questions. You learned to ask yourself those. Did you journal a lot?
I
Or
journal
was
every
it
single day, and I have journaled
okay?
for years. I used to journal all the time as a kid. In
Mm.
fact, the other day, there's this site online that it's called Penzu, Penzu, and it I used to journal in that, and I found like some jerk it like sometimes will email me and like, this is what you wrote 8 years ago, and I'm like, I was in the depths of hell. And
Oh,
read one the other
yeah.
day and I was like, holy shnikes, like it was bad. But
Yeah.
so journaling, I think breath work has been extremely helpful. Um, I think meditation has been extremely helpful. Abraham Hicks, I'm obsessed with. Um,
What's that?
Abraham,
What tell me.
if you go to YouTube and just type in Abraham Hicks, it's a lot of like
Uh-huh.
affirmations, law of attraction. Like this was another program I did, which was her name's Svetlana, and it was a dreams course, and that's where I got introduced to Abraham Hicks, and it's so I listen to that every morning. But I just have and I've even gotten into like I do a devotional every morning, and I read the Bible every morning, and it's like all of these different things I think give me peace in my soul of just letting me process what I need to process at the time. I think what's so important is when you go through, you have to find something that helps you heal yourself, or else you're going to keep repeating the same patterns. And it doesn't mean that every day is amazing. You don't go through seasons of anxiety or depression or stress or whatever it might be. Like, so it's a service to yourself of like when you don't feel like your normal self, regardless of if you just went through a bunch of shit or if things are just normal, like get really curious of going, what is going on in my body? Because you don't have to live that way. And if you don't know, like find someone who does, or reach out to someone on DM and be like, what can I try? What should I do? Who should I talk to? It's like there's so many resources out there. You just have to get really curious of going, like, I want something better for myself than what I currently have, because you are worthy of it and you deserve it. And it's like you have to love yourself and protect yourself fiercer than anyone else, because no one else will do it for you. It's like you just really, I think it just comes down to really absolutely like loving yourself to the 10th degree of going like, you deserve more than how you're feeling right now.
Yeah, I love that you're sharing that because I think so many people believe healing means that everything is fixed.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's just not the case. And new seasons in life bring on new things. And so I love that you were open and curious and exploring all kinds of things and open to all that because what may seem like to people the only thing you can do is talk therapy. There's so many other things that can be done that will, and it could augment it,
Mhm.
right? I love that.
I think
So go
the
ahead.
challenge is it can be real, it's a really freaking expensive. And that's the thing that makes me like
That's true.
hiring coaches and doing all this stuff. Like, even if you don't have a coach, even buying a full plunge yourself, or like, it's all expensive. And so one of the things I love when
Yeah.
I started doing like is using ChatGPT a lot of going, and this is like kind of how I started figured out that your
Ooh,
mineral
tell
analysis.
me.
I
Yeah.
have a ChatGPT bot that like I use and I go, be my spiritual advisor and help me work through this, or give me a protocol to help me with whatever I need. And I'll use like, so one of the things was someone in my life has like pulmonary hypertension. And I was just like, hey, ChatGPT, be Josh Axe collaborating with the medical medium and come up with a food protocol to help ease this naturally or whatever it might be. So I think it's like whatever you're struggling with, it's like you can utilize AI to create something that you can do at home or within your budget, or help you find programs that are good for you. It's just going like you have to be committed to yourself of I'm going to do whatever. And it's like there's so many books like Dr. LaPere, right? Do the work. uh,
Yeah.
that book's
Hmm.
great. Gabby Bernstein has one. I can't remember the name of it. It's in my closet right now. All
Hmm.
about, so there's so many resources out there. Again, it's going, do you want to heal this part of you that is hurting you more than it's serving you?
Yeah. Courses where you don't, where it's, you don't have to go and see the person, but they often offer, that advice in a course. I love that. That is such a great idea. So tell me, do you feel like you're still living in survival mode?
No, I don't. I think no. I think part of that is I've really forgiven. So like, and I hate the word boundaries, but like it is a thing, right? About a year and a half or 2 years ago, I met up with my ex-husband so he can make amends. And I told him, I was like, this is more for you than it is for me. Like I forgave you forever ago. And unfortunately, he did relapse shortly after and called me while he was under the influence. And my first initial reaction was I freaked out and I'm going, I have to fix this. I have to do it. And it just showed me, I was like, oh my gosh, I've done all this work, but yet I'm still going into, I have to fix this. And I took a beat and like sat down and I did some breath work and I was like, oh my gosh, he's not asking me for help. He's just in his same pattern. And so instead, I reached out to his mom and I just said, hey, I just need to let you know someone probably needs to check on him. Da 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 da. The next day, she let me know he's back in treatment and she had asked or told me she would keep me updated. And I said, respectfully, I don't need an update. And then he reached back out about a year later and kept calling and texting me. And then finally, I was like, I didn't respond. I didn't have anything to say to him, but I, for the first time, blocked him. And instead of doing it, and at first I wasn't sure if I could, but what's cool is one of my close friends here in Nashville actually is in recovery and he had been in and out of treatment for probably a decade, had gone to 13 facilities. And I met him because we went on a date. And then the more I learned about his journey, I had said, I can't be in a relationship with someone who is in recovery just because it's too much for me. But we became great friends. And I reached out to him and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I need to respond? And he was like, you don't owe him anything. And I think even though I knew that, I think sometimes Oprah said one thing that every person she ever interviewed wanted to know at the end of the show was, did I do a good job? I think as human beings, we're always looking for validation. And we can say, I don't need anyone's validation, like, I don't need anyone's permission. I don't think there's anything wrong for needing someone to just tell you, like, no, like, this is okay. You can put yourself first. You can block him. You can do this. So that was like a really freeing thing to hear, which allowed me to feel really good about cutting off all ties there because I'm going, that's his journey. Like, I am no longer on that journey with him. And so it's all going back to survival. It's just like, I think when you're learning to make decisions that are in your best interest, not to be selfish, but because that's like how your life is yours. Like, no one else is living it. No one else has to wake up every day and do what you do and deal with your feelings and deal with like the challenges and the stress. Like, only you have to do that. So why are we allowing other people to make decisions on our behalf with it or to impact that in a negative way? Like, we don't have to. And so I think by understanding, like, I'm not the best at this because I have a really insane high threshold for other people's bullshit, as my friends say, because I'm so empathetic. I'm not the best at this, but I think every time I make a decision that is in service of me and my truth and my values and what I want life to be, it's like, it's just making me stronger with that. So I think because of that, I wouldn't say I'm in survival mode at all. I don't think, like, no part of me feels that way, which is so freeing.
That is so freeing. I'm so happy for you with that. And oftentimes, many of the things that we do default to doing don't end up letting them heal either.
Well, what I love about you doing the show is like
Yeah.
the whole thing say with addiction, like secrets make you sick. It's the same thing. Like, we are all human having a human experience, and we're all a lot more alike than we are different. And so when we pretend like there are days that we never struggle with depression or we never struggle with anxiety or we never struggle with like um not having boundaries or like with our worthiness or whatever, it's like, okay, great, you're perfect. Like, I don't believe you. It's just like a lot of people just aren't comfortable with being that open with it when it's going, there's nothing wrong with you just because you're dealing with that. And we can't heal in silence either, right? We can't heal in a solo environment. We're built for community. And so you just have to like build your own community for yourself.
Yeah, it brings, I love that analogy of how there's a negative and a positive and they come together. So
Mhm.
many of the behaviors that I see, especially as I'm working, with partners of trauma, is that the coping mechanisms that we developed, for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be, we all have that. We've all developed coping mechanisms for things that helped us survive that then can take the pendulum can go too far the other way to where they don't become helpful anymore. And there
Mhm.
should not be shame in that.
No.
There shouldn't be shame in that. And so people feel they're weak or they just feel so much shame for addressing that piece of it. And that's what I'm hoping that these conversations can do for people and that the show can do is to make that more normal so that we can actually do something about those things because they can be tweaked in especially in adult relationships and as adults.
Yeah. I think it's hard because it's all about being extreme honesty with yourself so you can be
Right.
honest with other people. And
Right.
in relationships today, like I've had, a relationship last year that I was really excited about. It's like he wasn't honest in the beginning about not wanting more kids, right? But because I was so honest about this is what I want, it came to a breaking point of like whatever it might be. And I think when we are not honest with ourselves with what we need and what we want, and you can't have a truly connected relationship with people. I saw someone recently talk about green flags or red flags in friendships. It's like if you can't go deep with someone, it's because you are in my belief is that you're unwilling to be honest with yourself and who you are. And there's no great relationships built when you're just playing surface level.
Yeah, if you don't know what you really want, you're going to keep tracking the things that you don't want, that don't make you happy. It seems so simple, but it's not.
Yeah. I just think the biggest thing I would say to anyone listening is there are so many different ways of going about healing your own trauma. But the point is that
Yeah.
you have to choose to be resourceful and like heal it. And once you do, it's like life gets so good. And not every day is good, right? But it's like I feel like I'm a much more positive person. I'm much more protective of what I listen to and who I talk to and like the things that come my ecosystem because I'm going, I don't have time for that. Like that's not what I want to fill my life with. And I think when you are active, proactive about choosing what you want to fill your life with, like you're living the life that you love. And we all deserve that.
I want to do something different with you because you are just so open. Can I just do like 5 rapid fire questions for you to close this?
You have
Because
them,
I
right?
think yeah, I have them right
Okay.
here. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. One belief you had to bury to become who you are today.
I am worthy of everything I want.
One relationship you had to rewire or release in your healing process.
My
Yeah.
ex-husband.
One boundary that changed your life.
I'm not going to raise my voice with you.
One thing that makes you feel most alive today.
Real conversations.
What do you hope women take away from your story today? The real unfiltered version.
It's okay to look like you have it all together on the outside and tell people that you don't have it all together on the inside. It's okay to raise your hand and be like, I need help right now. Like I literally called one of my best friends today and I was like, I need to meet with you. I need time with you. I need to process something with you. When can you get me on your schedule? One of my best friends. So I'm like, Friday night, we're getting together. So it's like you've got to ask for what you need.
It's so true. When I was when I was going through it after I wrote the book, people were just like, I had no idea what you were going through. You hid it so well. And my instinct was to be like proud of myself. And now I'm so not proud of myself.
It's sad because it's
It's
like
sad.
that's what I think about like when my family didn't know. I'm like, I'm so sad for myself that I
Yeah.
give myself that gift of because I think if you do open up to more people, especially the people that know you best, you can solve the issue so much faster or you can heal so much faster because you have the right support around you. When I think I'm like, I don't think I would have stayed as long as I did if my family and my best friends knew what was going on.
Right. And I think that though, for those of us who have been through the same patterns or keep going through the same things in relationships, that sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, they don't want to hear it again. Right. But the fact of the matter is, I think back and I'm like, if one of my friends came to me and was like, I just need, like you just said, I need somebody, I need to go out to see you, I would love that time. I would do it in a heartbeat and they would do it for you too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want the best for you.
I think what's true too about that, and this is something I've also come to learn because I see people get really annoyed with like their friends. I'm like, why are they doing that again? Da, 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 da. And
Yeah.
the same thing with people with addiction. They're going to do what they want to do, period. So you can either judge them and give them a hard time for it, or you could just be like, hey, I just want to bring awareness to this for you. I'm going to love you, whatever you decide, but I just need to call you to a little bit of a higher level of like making sure you're aware of the decisions you're making. So that way you're thinking both sides of it. And but I think if we could just go, we're all going to do what we want to do no matter what. It's not always good. So you just got to choose. Are you going to be the friend that people can come to and talk to, or are you going to be the friend that they have to hide everything from?
Yeah. And it's almost like it may be that you want to, but you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
Right. Or that it's just isn't the right time and they've got to get there.
Yeah. But I just pray that anyone who's going through a hard time, like you give yourself that permission to ask for help. And that's
Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I loved this conversation. Your story is amazing, and your work that you're doing to help others tell their story. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thanks.
I told you this one was going to be powerful. Elle's story is such a reminder that healing isn't linear and it's definitely not always pretty. But when you stop trying to control everything, stop hiding the hurt, and start getting curious about what your body and patterns are trying to tell you, things can really shift. Okay, so I had a lot of takeaways from this conversation, but I tried to get them down to the real deal, my 3 biggest takeaways that I want you all to take from this interview. And the first one is that curiosity is the gateway to healing. Elle didn't try to shame or silence the hard stuff. She got curious about it. And her body's reactions, her repeated relationship patterns, and the beliefs she was carrying since she was 13, that curiosity is what opened the door to change. Number 2, you can't look like you've got it. You can look like you've got it all together and still be in pain. I loved it when Elle said that we heal faster when we have the right support around us. So just because someone is high functioning or killing it at work doesn't mean that everything is okay. And Elle's story is proof that the strongest looking people can be suffering in silence. And the third thing I want you to take away is that we will continue old patterns in relationships until we pause long enough to understand them. I think Elle used the quote, you need to have extreme honesty with yourself, because without awareness, we repeat the same hurt, just with different people. And I also have one more bonus truth, and that is you don't have to do it alone. I hope you heard that from this interview. Whether it's thematic therapists, spiritual coaches, friends, and family, it's okay to call and say, I need help. And Elle shows us what it really looks like to build a support system you can actually lean on. And healing is not meant to happen in isolation. So if you're listening and thinking, I'm not where I want to be yet, I want you to remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. Start there, get curious, and when you're ready, there's support waiting for you. I want to thank Elle one more time for sharing her heart, her truth, and her voice. We'll see you next time on Love and Trauma, The Real Deal.
All right, that's a wrap for today on Love and Trauma, The Real Deal. Big thanks to my guests for sharing their insights. Couldn't have done it without you. Now, for those of you looking to take this journey further, I've got something special. Head to my website to grab Real Tactics, Real Healing, a survivor's playbook for navigating a relationship with a trauma survivor. It's packed with everything you need to know, do, and say to navigate the emotional minefield, find your balance, and regain your self-worth and happiness.